So I know we're talking about careers, but I also want to give you a challenge. The reality is that in today's economy, and as things start changing and developing in different ways, we all need to have a side hustle to be able to make sure that we can thrive regardless of what's thrown at us. And for me, this was very important in my career. You know, even though I had a clear vision of some of the things I wanted to do and was gonna do, I also developed an understanding of a business side. So I created the $200 challenge, and I got this from listening to a book that said, can you make $200 extra a month on the side? And it could be as a contractor, it could be doing your own business, whatever it may be. And for me, this was really life-changing because I started to realize that I could think outside of the box when it came to my career, when it came to what I wanted to do, which eventually led me to have my own business. But it also opened up doors and opportunities because in my regular career, what I found was that I can get paid, let's say, $20 an hour, but as a contractor, I can get paid $100 an hour because I was able to do some of those things. And the way that initially happened is that I said, how can I make $200 extra? At the time, I was an investigator for the state of Florida. And I decided that I could buy merchandise and sell it on the side. So I bought sandals. I know, it's pretty weird. But I started selling them at flea markets. And then I realized that I can sell them to other people that would sell them at flea markets. That way I wouldn't have to do that on my weekends. But it was a way for me to make extra money. And what I realized that I started doing other things, and it grew to other businesses that I held. And also grew again as a contractor, where I was doing certain things at my job, and then I would go to like the Women's Resource Center and say, hey, I'm doing some of these things. I want to do a workshop in your center that would help your community and this and that. And they would say, okay, you come in and do a profit share or something. But what ended up happening was that I ended up developing contracts for speaking. I developed contracts to develop programs for places. I ended up doing some kind of side gigs and stuff like that. And it would pay me per hour, sometimes 5 or 6 times what I was getting paid per hour in my regular job. So I ended up leaving some of my career and developing my own thing in a new path in my new career as a side contractor, which again led to a business. So when you give your brain a command and when you give yourself a challenge like this, what happens is that your reticular activating system starts looking for these ideas, starts looking for these thoughts, starts seeing and assessing in what way it can make this happen. So for example, for me, when I wanted to open up a photography company, what ended up happening was I was saying this in my mind, I was creating it and stuff. So every time somebody in distance would say that they would need something that had to do with photography, even if I was at a supermarket, my brain would pick it up and say, hey, that might be an opportunity. So the same thing happens with you. If you buy a new car, what happens? You start seeing that car everywhere, that color everywhere, or even sneakers or whatever it is, because your brain is a command center, so it knows something that you just did, so then it highlights those things in your environment. So by creating this $200 challenge, what you're doing is that you're telling your brain to be open to opportunities, to be open to ideas. And your role is, as you're open to it, is keep thinking about these things, keep brainstorming. You can brainstorm with family and friends. You can even think for yourself. But as you go along your day, write those ideas. And don't say, oh, I'll write it later, because what happens is that you might get distracted and later may never happen. So write them down throughout your day and then assess your skills to see what can you do. What am I able to do right now with my skill set? And even if I added other skill sets, what might I be able to do? And I'm just gonna give you one other example. I have a colleague who loves baking bread, and she was going through a divorce process, so she decided to start making courses on baking bread, an hour courses and things like that. And what ended up happening was that she was so successful putting them online that like last year she made over $300,000 just on that. So she went from having a completely different thing that she did for a living to following her passion and doing a little side hustle and creating her own challenge to make some extra income, and it really exponentially changed her life. So again, what you're gonna do is I challenge you for the next 30 days, try to figure out how can you make an extra $200 in the next 30 days. And I know it's a career course, but if you do this, it's not only gonna help you, just in case in this changing market, it might actually help your career in many different places, because as you can add other stuff, for example, as I did that $200 challenge and I did some contracts on the side, I added it to my resume, which then gave me more value as I was seeking to explore my career and things that I wanted to do. And more companies wanted to work with me. And I developed more networks and more connections. So thinking about that, look at your skill set. What things can you do? Brainstorm with yourself, with your family, with your friends. And then as ideas come up, don't discard any idea. No idea is too dumb, because out of that idea can come the best idea. Thank you.